one God who is above all and through all and in all. Lots of ones in there, lots of unity being spoken, all built on humility, gentleness, patience, acceptance, and peace, lifting up rather than tearing down, Paul tells us, and cooperating rather than competing. And according to the Apostle Paul, within this oneness, this unity of the church, we need to be celebrating the diverse gifts of the people in the church. Gifts that are given so that the church can grow and mature, allowing everyone to become active participants in God's mission and ministry in and through the church. For the church is not a stagnant institution, but a living organism with living people. It's ever growing into the completeness of life in and through Christ, where we encounter and learn to love people. People who differ from us within the church, because if we don't come to know them and love them, then something is wrong. Something's terribly wrong, and this is not the healthy community that God desires. And even we 21st century Christians are not to be divided, according to Paul, by doctrine or dogma or anything else, but joined together, not in uniformity, not being the same, but in unity, gathered together in our differences, knit together, the Apostle Paul tells us, by one thing: ligaments. Yes, it's ligaments. Now, a ligament is a fibrous tissue that connects bones to other bones to form joints. They do not connect muscles to bones. That's the job, of course, of the tendons. Ligaments are the mechanical reinforcers within the body that join together and provide stability to the body, gradually lengthening when under tension and then returning to their original shape when the tension is removed. Ligaments are critical for any body because without ligaments, the body would simply collapse. It could not sustain itself under any stress. Now, over the last couple of weeks, perhaps like me, you've been caught up in the frenzied excitement of the incredibly diverse gathering of athletes of the 2020 Summer Olympic Games, which of course are being conducted in 2021. We still call it the 2020 Games, though. Delayed by the coronavirus, these Olympics have been controversial. According to some polls, 83% of the Japanese people wanted the Games canceled. Eventually, 206 countries sent teams, but of course not Russia. No, Russia did not send a team to the 2020 Olympics. They were banned from Tokyo for doping violations, but they still managed to send 335 sports persons to the Games as the Russian Olympic Committee, not Russia, but the Russian Olympic Committee, and they are in the top of the representative countries in winning medals so far. But the games have gone on. The gymnasts have twisted and turned through the air, defying the laws of gravity with each move, except, of course, for Simone Biles. The swimmers have been gliding and bobbing like dolphins with each turn and churning through the water faster than most of us can run. And the handball, volleyball, basketball, and other players combine agility and strength with ballet-like moves that our bodies can only dream of mastering. At the Olympics, well-tuned, highly trained bodies seemingly do the impossible. Years of preparation are glorified. World records are broken, and gold, silver, and bronze medals are awarded. But none of those accomplishments by these diverse and dedicated athletes are possible without the presence of ligaments. ligaments. Ligaments hold everything together and make every muscle and bone and tendon and organ work as it is intended to work, perform as it is asked to perform, and to succeed as it is expected to succeed. It's all about ligaments. The Apostle Paul understood, and God understands, that we, the people of God, within the diverse oneness of Christ, will always bring our individual gifts and strengths and perspectives, all given to us by God through Christ. Make no mistake, they are Christ's gifts, according to verse 7 of the text we heard today. He gave gifts to his people in verse 8. The gifts he gave in verse 11, they are all gifts God gives us individually for the benefit of our community of faith. So we have no pride in those gifts. In the Episcopal Church, we are known to follow what's called the via media, the middle way, being open to the truth that each person has to offer, seeking to be a place where everyone matters. Everyone matters because every single perspective, every single gift is important. As Christians, and especially as Episcopalians, we are not and never will be the same. We are and always will be individual parts of the body of Christ. We bring our own gifts, ideas, and abilities formed by race and gender and ethnicity, affected by age and personality and spiritual preferences, and framed by sexual orientation, political persuasion, and theological understanding. But we're all held together. We're all held together by ligaments, the ligaments of our faith, when, regardless of our differences, we exercise, according to Paul, humility and gentleness and patience and acceptance and peace. We are and always can be diverse but united. Diverse but united. Different but joined together. Divided and yet connected to one another through ligaments. And before you scoff, listen again as the Apostle Paul begs us. He begs us to lead a life worthy of the calling to which you have been called, as the whole body joined and knit together by every ligament with which it is equipped, as each part is working properly, promotes the body's growth in building itself up in love. Building itself up through the ligaments of love. 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 It always comes down to love. Love is what binds us together. God's love for us and our love for God and for one another. According to St. Paul, love not only makes the body work properly, but also promotes the body's growth in building itself up in love, not by following doctrine or trickery or deceitful scheming, but as we engage, according to Paul, in speaking the truth in love. Speaking the truth in love. And speaking the truth in love is not an excuse for abusive speech used to push down others and gain power for ourselves. It's not using that Southern colloquialism, well, bless your heart. Bless your heart, which usually means, oh, you poor thing, you don't realize how idiotically wrong you are, but I'll be glad to set you straight. Bless your heart. So, how do we as God's people speak the truth in love? How do we take advantage of those ligaments that can bind us together? How do we speak the truth in love? when our gay, lesbian, transgendered, bisexual, and queer brothers and sisters are still ostracized and castigated and demonized by comments from persons even within our own faith tradition? How do we speak the truth in love when over 30 million Americans still have no health insurance, and the estimated 40,000 people a year die because of inadequate medical care while the insured turn a blind eye? How do we speak the truth in love when over 100 Americans die every single day from gun violence? 100 every single day from gun violence, while we insist as a country that there should be no limits for gun ownership. How do we speak the truth in love to the hungry when our stomachs are full, or to the homeless when our houses are comfortable, or to the hurting when we enjoy health? How do we speak the truth in love to the drug users who fill half of our prisons, making us the country with the largest percentage of our population incarcerated, when experts uniformly insist that drug addiction, should be treated as a health concern instead of a crime? How do we speak the truth in love? How do we speak the truth in love to the poor and the homeless and the chronically unemployed when we cut taxes on billionaires and borrow $6 trillion to fund federal programs, and then talk about cutting benefits to those who need it the most? How do we speak the truth in love to those who refuse to wear a mask or get vaccinated and put others at risk by potentially spreading the coronavirus or creating even more virulent variants? How do we speak the truth in love? How do we speak the truth in love to all those we marginalize or ignore or isolate? This year, surfing is making its debut at the Tokyo Olympics. I'm always enchanted by the surfboarders who can ride the waves with balance and agility, but the most amazing wave riders are the body surfers, who can be found at beaches that even the surfboarders don't dream of tackling. They just get in front of a big enough wave, take off swimming as fast as they can, and the wave will pick them up, and they can surf along at the crest until, of course, they crash at the eventual turbulence at the end of the ride. But guess whom scientists have discovered are the champion body surfers? The champion body surfers of all time. It's fire ants. Fire ants. See what you can learn by going to church? Fire ants. They actually save their own lives by body surfing. These painful, pesky pests have developed a stunning way to survive huge rains that flood their colonies, common occurrences even in the American South. The ants link themselves together and assemble into flat, waterproof rafts that float on top of the floodwaters. The key to these rafts is the strength of the interconnection between each ant. The whole raft is held together as the ants clutch to one another with their jaws and their claws. The disc-shaped round rafts are actually water repellent due to the interlocking pattern between the ants. Some ants in the raft even remain submerged below the water's surface, but the structure of the interconnection between them traps air bubbles between them that those ants use to breathe. On top of the raft, other ants just surf along as the colony then washes up onto dry ground. The ants survive by their interdependence within their community. Their connection one with another in their community. They are interdependent, dependent upon and depending upon each other. They relate to each other, respect each other, and trust each other. In the same way, as the church, the body of Christ, we can be united in God's love as we pursue, according to St. Paul, humility and gentleness and patience and acceptance and peace, even as we speak the truth in love. No, we as God's people will never, ever be the same. But together, connected one to another, united by the ligaments of God's love, we can be God's presence in the world. And as we are united as one, as God has made us one, we can be that one body, that one spirit, that one hope for the world, that one celebrating that one Lord and that one faith and that one baptism. We can be the people that God so wants us to be, all together, united by ligaments of love, together, serving our one God. One God.